Hey, Dave Duford here at DeFord Insurance Group, where I train and recruit agents nationally to sell final expense Medicare and annuities and ACA too, over the phone or face-to-face. Thanks so much for being here. Today's topic on our live stream, we're doing it live today, is asking you, do you make these common mistakes when setting insurance appointments by phone? I've trained agents nationally really since 2013. I've had thousands upon thousands pass through my door, so I know a thing or two about setting appointments to get into the door. And I know that a lot of agents make simple to correct mistakes that, had they known or were aware of the problems they were causing themselves by what they were saying, or maybe what they weren't saying, or how they were saying what they were saying, they would have booked more appointments and probably saw more success. So the purpose of this video, this recording today, live stream, is to really give you a summation of my observations as a trainer in the insurance business of what the common mistakes most agents make when they try to set appointments by phone, and likewise give you some guidance on how to avoid those mistakes so that you can convert more of your attempts to book appointments over the phone and turn them into presentations. So as far as who this is applicable for, those of you who are brand new or aspiring, you're looking for some guidance on how to use the phone effectively and get results, this is perfect for you. If you're trying to book appointments on the phone and you find yourself struggling, you're frustrated, you get rejected a lot, you don't even know really where to look, maybe your upline's not giving you some guidance, this training is going to be very suitable for you. And whether you're using a paid lead or you're cold calling businesses or residential, this is also going to be useful for you. Not all of it may necessarily correlate exactly to what it is that you're selling or trying to book appointments to sell, but a lot of this will have direct impact. So as we get started here, just a reminder, if you got questions and you're here live, feel free to leave your questions in the chat. Happy to address those at the conclusion of today's training. Of course, if you're watching this live or recording and you enjoy this, please consider hitting the thumbs up button. That helps the algorithm share my content to other agents struggling and in need of quality training to help them help more people. So the number one thing I got here on the list here, and there's looks like a total of 5 different aspects of appointment setting that I've clued in on here that I think are worthy of kind of talking about and getting into more detail on. And none of these are any particular order, just things that have come to mind that I've observed and have seen. Number one is unnecessary pauses in the appointment setting script. So one of the things that you have to understand, essentially, and this is true of the sales process as it is with setting appointments by phone, is that what you are conducting here is an attempt to control a conversation without being forceful, of course, but to control it in a way that the outcome is in your favor. And the way we control conversations is certainly the choice of words that we say, but also how we say them. And when you insert in too many ways opportunities for the client to take control of that conversation of appointment setting, you allow that client the opportunity to not only interject, take control, but possibly not get the appointment booked. And there's really probably 2 spots that I see as the most common ways that people lose control. And the first one actually happened today. I called a number back thinking it was an agent of mine, and I picked up the phone, and immediately I recognized it wasn't them, and the person that picked up the phone said, "Hey, may I speak to David Duford?" And immediately, what did I do? They asked me a question, and because I sell this stuff for a living and I know all about sales and appointment setting, what did I do? I hung the phone up. I didn't even continue to have a conversation with that person. Don't know what it was about, but I knew it was a telemarketing call, okay? And so what happens is that if you start a phone call with a pause asking a question, you're in turn giving up the potential for control. In that case, I just hung up because I knew it was a telemarketing call. It just sounded like it within that half second that the client asked the question. When you call, if you're asking, "Is this Jane?" or "May I speak to Jane, please?" you're going to find yourself confronted with people starting to ask you questions and grappling control away from you. So what do you do instead? Well, if the client answers and sounds like a female, and on the client's card or the lead, it's you've either got her first name or you've got the last name, then you just need to, instead of asking if it's them, just assume it's them and go right into your telemarketing appointment setting script. So it sounds something like this. She says, hello, my intimidation of a female voice. You say, hey, Jane, this is David Duford getting back to you about the new state regulated blah, 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 whatever your script is there. But notice how I didn't pause to confirm it was her. I assumed it was her. That little assumption, again, and all of these are kind of little tweaks in your favor that added up are incredibly powerful, but sometimes on their own, they don't seem to be as strong as they are. But making that one change will help you progress further into the call than had you had paused and confirmed it was, in this case, Jane. Does that make sense, y'all? Okay. The second time that this happens, especially when somebody is setting an appointment with some sort of paid lead, maybe you're selling final expense, Medicare, mortgage protection, is calling to or stating a question after you maybe confirm who they are or you confirm their favorite hobby, as some of these leads have, and you ask them, do you remember that? Or do you recall sending the information back? Again, this is a pause, unnecessary in the conversation of setting the appointment, and gives the opportunity to the client to answer and then take control. And why is that a problem? Because what you want to do is get your full pitch out to set the appointment before they make a decision to answer a certain way or another. And at any time when the client starts taking control, you never get the full script out and can give maximum impact to persuading them to hopefully set the appointment. So for example, thank you, Tony, appreciate it. So for example, some scripts go like this, like for example, our appointment setting script for Facebook leads for final expense sounds something like this to start. Hey, this is David Duford getting back to you about some information you requested on our new state-regulated final expense program. Where things go wrong with some agents is they say, you said that your favorite hobby is watching Montel Williams' show, right? Now, what we've done there is none of that is wrong. It's true. It's good that you mentioned the favorite hobby. That jogs their memory. But because you've asked them confirmation, they may not take it, but why give them the option to do that when you don't have to? They may say, yeah, but I'm busy right now, because they sense that this is a telemarketing call. Does that make sense? And you've given them permission to interject, right? So what's the solution to that? Just like how we open by assuming it's Jane, we confirm through the appointment setting call, assuming that that is true, that their favorite hobby is watching the Montel Williams show, right? So without asking it in the form of a question. So for example, it sounds something like this. My name is David Duford, calling back to you about the information you requested on Facebook about our new state-regulated final expense program. You said that your favorite hobby was watching Montel Williams' show, and the reason I'm calling is blah, 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 blah. So I said it, but I didn't pause where we would normally ask, do you remember doing that, or did you remember filling that out? So what this does, again, gives me one more advantage to get the entirety of my script out so I can hopefully sell them on speaking with me and setting up an appointment and agreeing to it, right? Because if I don't do that and I ask for their recall rate on whether they did the thing or not, I'm losing momentum. I could lose momentum unnecessarily, okay? And the fact that you know that their favorite hobby is whatever it is, it's such a unique identifier, or maybe use the date of birth or how much coverage they requested. You don't need to confirm anything. You know it. And the fact that you state that you know it in a way that's not asking them to remember is kind of a higher level of confidence in delivering the script than you actually trying to confirm it. So what I would advise you all is if you're in the middle of your presentation on appointment setting, I should say, asking a question to see if they remember doing the thing, just stop. Assume you know that they did it, because they did do it after all, and show your confidence in knowing that that's what they did. Yeah, I know, Sally, Jesse, Raphael. So look, some people have weird hobbies. Sometimes they like Montel better than Sally. I was always a Jerry Springer guy myself. So you guys get this. This is imperative. This is a common mistake that most agents make. So again, number one here, eliminate unnecessary pauses from your scripting. Do not ever yield control the potential for yielding control to your clients too early, because you'll upend opportunities you may have gotten had you gotten through the whole script. Number two, concisely, a common mistake here is concisely, or not concisely really, introducing who you are and what you're calling about. So a lot of times agents have diarrhea of the mouth, or they're incomplete in how they present themselves at the beginning of the phone call about who they are and why they're calling. Some common mistakes that I see, for example, is not saying your full name. I feel like if some random person is calling me and they just introduce themselves as John or Joe or Jane, right? No offense to the names that start with J. If you don't say your last name with that, it just sounds kind of, I don't know, weird. You know, if you're, people are worried about being scammed on the phone. It's always a concern they have. They've been told that their entire life. Don't give them a reason to think that way. So just make sure you introduce your whole name. My name is David Duford, not just Dave or David. David Duford. So say your full name. I just think it lends to a little bit more of a legitimacy than had you not say it. Another big problem, very big problem, trigger word these days. Do you say the I word when you're calling to set appointments? Do y'all know what the I word is? Insurance. You know what happens when you say insurance? For the average American, the brain shuts down. Critical thinking capabilities stop. They immediately go into a flight mode, survival mode. Somebody's trying to sell me something. I gotta hang up, and whatever I tell them is just gonna get them off the phone. I'm busy. I've got it already. I'm broke. Whatever, right? When you say the word insurance in the appointment setting process, for many people, their critical thinking functions break down, and they won't listen to you or be as easily sold if you had not said it all together. So what you have to do instead of saying whatever it is, maybe it's life insurance or health insurance or Medicare, you have to say what you're describing in a unique, different way that still describes what you're doing, but doesn't use that direct, distinct word, okay? So like, for example, in final expense, we don't say, hey, I'm calling because you requested information about life insurance to pay for your burial cost, because the brain shuts down, right? Instead, what I say is, hey, I'm calling about the new state-regulated program that's responsible for paying for final expenses. So I don't say insurance anywhere in that. I describe what it does, and what I've described is truthful, but I say it with more words to where it sounds unique and slips past the lizard brain functionality of the common prospect. Now, the thing is that I want you to be concerned with, and this is always kind of an issue with me. I never liked this, what I'm describing here. I never personally liked the idea of not describing what I do as helping people with life insurance as a final expense agent, right? But the reason and the kind of thought process I've had over time that's kind of changed my disposition about this is I recognize what human behavior is. People aren't running away from lions and, cheetahs and, living in caves anymore. We've cultivated through evolution a survival instinct, right? Now in modernity, the thing that we fear the most is being sold, being uncomfortable. But the stress signals to the brain are still evolutionarily designed for the savannah, right? Running from lions or whatever. So the point is, this is a function of what makes people people. It's natural and normal to put up a defense mechanism, right? When they hear words, in this case, in a sales presentation or appointment setting script, that may trigger them to think that somebody's going to try to take something from them, okay? So we say, instead of life insurance, some amalgamation of other words that describe the same thing, but don't trigger that same fear complex. So we're not trying to legitimately or directly confuse them or be deceitful. We're just trying to explain this in a way that keeps their mind open. And this is critical because their perception is reality after all. And maybe their perception of what a life insurance plan is different from what we have, right? Words is an attempt to try to define things objectively so other people can understand, but there's always subjective elements to all words, okay? Depending on who says it or in the way it's said, right? There's a lot of that variability. That's what makes language interesting. And so that's why we choose to say another way to describe life insurance than directly saying life insurance in this example. So hopefully you guys can understand that. For me, it was a concern of being ethical. But over time, as I've did some thinking and talking to other agents who are very good at this business, it became clear to me it's not said to be unethical. It's said to avoid the common reaction from people that ends up being negative and against their better interest in many cases. Okay. Also, kind of what we mentioned earlier, we want to make sure that you don't forget adding memory jogging statements of fact. Okay. So just because somebody requests information, especially if you're using a purchase lead, doesn't mean they'll remember it, right? A lot of people are chronic card filler outers. They fill out a Facebook lead form once and Facebook shows them more Facebook or final expense or life insurance, whatever it is, multitudes of them, right? And they may not remember doing it, or maybe weeks or months have passed if they're an age lead, right? So just because they've done it doesn't mean they remember. So an integral part, especially with a digital lead, is making sure that you remember to jog their memory while you say the script about what it is that they did. So for example, most digital leads these days have favorite hobbies, favorite colors, possibly date of birth or coverage amount. And you want to make sure you mention that, again, not as a question to confirm that this is true, but as a statement of fact, hearkening back to what we said earlier. My name is David Duford. I'm calling because you requested information on our new state-regulated final expense program. You said that your favorite hobby was fishing, and I'm calling you because it's my job. I just stated it as a statement of fact. I didn't say your favorite hobby is fishing, right? Because we're going to, lose control when we start asking questions prematurely. I'll say this as a side note. So what question do we want to ask? It's not just some run-on sentence, the whole thing, right? No. But the only question that matters, that we'll get to here in a moment, is what time am I coming over? When are you going to have me? And there's some power to that because I didn't ask them permission. But the point is they should be answering me based off of what time they want me there, 2 or 4. Right? And we'll get to more on that in a minute. That's the only question that matters. So that's why that's the only question we ask right at the end. Okay, point number 3 on here, and this is critical. This is going to take some work, especially when you get some pushback from the prospect. But the point is, let me ask a question to the audience. I want you to think about this. This is critical, foundational here. What is the reason, or what is the purpose of setting an appointment? Or calling is to set an appointment. The purpose of calling to set an appointment is to sell the appointment. It is not to sell the product. That's the reason we set an appointment as face-to-face agents, okay? Or if you're a virtual agent, you're calling back on a Zoom call or something. We want to use the preset appointment when we're in the home or in a Zoom-based call to sell the product, okay? We don't sell product until we've developed a connection with the prospect. Okay, even if we're doing a one-call telesales call where we get right into the pitch, we don't sell the product up front. We sell the connection, the relationship, to get to know them a little bit, the fact find. Okay, so the product sale is not done on the initial appointment setting attempt, but what we're selling is why it's no big deal. It's quick and casual, and it is an easy process to sit down with us as an agent to help them with their questions on what it is that they requested. So we're selling, again, why they shouldn't be threatened or worried about us being in their home to help them out with what they requested, okay? So you want to make sure that you're not selling the product. Hey, Mr. Jones, my name is David Duford. I'm calling about the life insurance product you requested. It's a fantastic product. The price never goes up. The coverage never cancels. You can't be canceled due to age or health. I'd love to come over and sit down with you for 30 minutes to show you how it works. People's brains, even though they would be interested in this, are going to feel like you're pressuring them, you're pitching them. And when you sell somebody who you don't have a connection with, that's offensive to them. And even though you might have something good, a lot of people will just say, this person doesn't seem right. So we save that talk well into the actual in-person presentation. But what we sell in the actual appointment setting attempt instead is why this is a quick, casual endeavor. So here's how it sounds scripted. I'll go from the start of the script. Hey, this is David Duford, Mrs. Jane, getting back to you about the information you requested on our new state-regulated final expense program. You said that your favorite hobby was watching Jerry Springer, and I'm calling you because it's my job to deliver this information you requested. Whatever you do with the information is totally up to you, and then you go on to close. But that phrase there, that new phrase, the reason I'm calling is it's my job to deliver the information to you. What you do with it's up to you. There's a couple of things I want to hit on here because all of this is selling the appointment. We know the state of mind that the prospect is in they're in that like fight or flight mentality, the lizard brain, caveman thing, right? They're afraid of being sold. So we're selling the appointment here to lower that threat perception, okay? What are the words we're using that help sell it? Number one, this is my job. The reason I'm calling is it's my job, okay? I'm just doing my job. People kind of understand you got jobs to do, and sometimes you don't like doing your job, but you got to do your job, right? The reason I'm calling is they send me out to talk to you. It's my job to deliver this information. Sometimes they'll say they, the proverbial they, the man, right? They, right? Somebody sent you out. Who is they? I don't know who they is, but it makes sense, I guess. Hey, it's just my job. They send me out to talk to you. It kind of displaces blame and responsibility from you and moves it to the proverbial they, right? So don't kill the messenger type of mentality. That kind of helps soften the blow. Deliver the information to you, right? We say that instead of coming over to enroll you in a life insurance program. Brain shuts down again, threat level maximized. Delivering information sounds a lot less obligatory than sitting at your home in your kitchen for, a long time and harassing you about buying something, right? All I need is 5 minutes. Again, when it's selling the appointment, we don't want to scare people into thinking this is going to be a long, drawn-out process. Will the appointment last longer than 5 minutes? Absolutely. You can do this in 5 minutes if you really hustle. How many clients actually threw me out of the house because I went longer than 5 minutes? None. Maybe I had like 3 or 4 that said, I have to actually go. Your guy said 10 minutes or 5 minutes. But out of 3,000 presentations, right? So it doesn't happen that much. And then what you do with it's up to you. There's no obligation. I'm not here to do anything. I'm not here to sell you. If you like it, great. If not, no big deal, right? I'll say that sometimes too, but all I need is 5 minutes. What you do with this is up to you, right? And the way I say it to him, like, hey, it's okay, no big deal. All I need is 5 minutes, Mrs. Prospect. What you do with this is up to you. So I'm very much like, no big deal. And I'll even put my hands up like this as I'm talking because it kind of is a defensive posture and just kind of lets me communicate it in that, hey, no risk, no big deal, right? So that's selling the appointment. It's lowering the threat concern. It's getting people comfortable that I'm not going to come after them, take all of their money, right, or any of their money. And then the last part of this, that is a big, there's actually 2 more points here, but back to kind of what I hinted at, is when you do all this, because you're in control, because you're controlling the projection and the direction of the call, it's up to you to determine what the outcome is going to be. In other words, you can't say all this stuff we just did and not close properly, right? You have to book the appointment. You have to close. You have to get in the door with a or set the appointment, okay? But there's right ways and wrong ways or non-optimal ways to close, okay? And the worst way to close is to ask for permission. Now, what's asking for permission? That's what we've been told. My mom told me when I was growing up, you're supposed to be a civil human being by asking for permission when you do things. So the problem with asking for permission in the context of setting appointments is what option do you give the client when you ask for permission? You give them the option of saying yes or no. And guess what? More often than not, people who are in a position to make a decision that requires a person to show up, and there may be some transient level of threat. What option are they going to take more often than not? The safe one? No. They're going to say no more often than not. So if you give them an option of no when you close, they'll take it more often than if you don't. And that really is the best way to close. The best way to book an appointment is to give alternate yes options. but no options. No options, right? So in other words, all I need is 5 minutes. What you do with this is up to you. How about I stop by at 10 o'clock, or does 2 work better? So they can say yes to 10 o'clock, or they can say yes to 2 o'clock. And that is the question I'm posing to them. What time works best for you, 10 or 2? I'm assuming I'm coming by the way that question is phrased. So I don't have to battle the no's, because how I frame the question sets me up more often than not to hear a yes. It's not perfect. Some people can be like, hell no, get off the click. That's still going to happen. But what this does, again, tweaks that little thing in your favor when you're booking appointments, so that when you call 100 people that you pitch to set an appointment with, how many more are going to say yes when their only option is a yes versus when it could be yes or no? A lot more are going to say yes. Okay? So again, you got to close never with what time tomorrow works best for you. Or that's okay. Not as good as 10 or 2. But are you free tomorrow? Is the afternoon good tomorrow? Because the option of no is there, right? Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. Don't do that. I'm going to be in your area tomorrow. What time works best? 10 o'clock or 2? Right? Yes or yes? Okay. All right. And the last thing on the list here, very important, is not anticipating objections on every phone call. Guess what? You can do everything right that I've described here, setting appointments. You can reduce the excess pauses. You can sell the appointment. You can introduce yourself right. You can close correctly. But guess what? You're still going to get objections. Objections are a feature to the system of a sales prospecting methodology, not a bug. In other words, they happen because it's innate. To do well at appointment setting is to equally train your ability to rebut, meaning fight back against the objections that you will ultimately hear. So a good appointment setting system is not complete without a good objection rebuttal strategy, okay? What I'm going to teach you is a strategy, a very simple one, to basically rebut all of the major objections. And if you guys want to test it, for those of you watching live, throw the objections you deal with into the chat, and I'll demonstrate how this objection rebuttal strategy works. It's called the ASK methodology. It's so simple, yet profoundly effective. A means answer the objection. Losing my voice. S means sell the appointment. And C means close. Okay? So a common objection I'll hear, and I'll look in the chat here in a minute to see if anybody else is out there, is I've already got life insurance, or already got insurance. And we can deconstruct why that's not a big deal. But for the point of today's training, what you say to that is very simple. No problem. All I need is 5 minutes to do my job and show you how this works. And what you do with it is up to you. Why don't I stop by tomorrow at 10 o'clock, or does 2 work better? Now, why does that work? Because them having life insurance isn't an objection necessarily, right? What if we could do a better one for them? What if they could benefit from having more? What if they don't realize they've got the wrong policy? Maybe it's a term policy when they really need a full final expense plan that's whole life, right? The point is we can't sell the product, right? Because they don't trust us. What we can do is sell the appointment. And how we respond to this is very simple, and that's kind of off. It's not off-putting, but it's very relaxed. There's not a lot of pressure applied. Hey, that's fine. We acknowledge, hey, you got life insurance? That's fine. We're not arguing with them or telling them how great our stuff is, right? Because that's pointless. They're not going to listen to us because we're just some random dude on the phone. So I say, no problem. And then I go back to selling the appointment. All I need is 5 minutes to do the job they send me out to do. And what you do with this is up to you. How about 10 o'clock, or does 2 work better? So I sell the appointment again in the exact same way I opened it. And then I close again with alternate yes or yes, 10 or 2, 4 or 6, right? But I say this with conviction. I say it like it's no big deal. And I go back to close. Now, one of the things, and I'll get to, let me see if any objections in the chat. Hey, Veronica, what's going on? One of the things, I lost my train of thought here. One of the biggest mistakes on objection rebuttaling is closing. What happens in a lot of times, people put out like a fake smokescreen objection. Yeah, I'm busy right now. That's okay. All I need is 5 minutes to show you how this works. What you do with it's up to you, Mrs. Prospect. Why don't we do 10 o'clock, or if you want to do a little later, how about 6? What works better? Well, I already got life insurance. I'm all set. Oh, that's okay. I totally understand. All I need is 5 minutes, like I said, to do what I do. And what you do with this is totally up to you. And the tension level rises with agents because you feel like I'm arguing with this person and I don't like confrontation. And where agents crack is they don't have, because of this anxiety that's brimming to the surface, they don't have the full conviction to close after that second or third attempt. Whenever you hear an objection, guys, and you go to rebuttal, you have to answer it, you have to sell it, and you always have to close it. Because it's the closing part that commonly after the first objection attempt, when you go the second or third time, that's commonly left off because your nerves are firing at full force, okay? So always close. What closing does is it exhibits confidence that you believe in what it is that you're doing and the value of it that this person should do it. And it's a little unnerving if you've never been in sales before to suggest and to lead like this. But what you'll find more often than not, people want to be led. And they'll sense by your conviction and your inability to get off of it that you really believe they should see this, and your conviction of closing, that people will follow suit. And sometimes it takes a couple of back and forths. How many times should you rebuttal? I would say at least until they hang up the phone. At least 2 to 3 times. But really when they hang up the phone, it's kind of like when they tap out, right? You've done everything you could have. Now, the last thing I'll add here, we do not need it. That's no problem, Mrs. Prospect. All I need is 5 minutes to show you the information and deliver it, what you requested, and what you do with it's up to you, Adrian. Why don't I come by at 2 o'clock, or does 10 work better? I'm not arguing with them. I'm just acknowledging it. It doesn't matter that they don't need it, that they have enough, that they're broke, that they have too much money. All I need is 5 minutes to show you how it works, and that's no problem. You already got it. What you do with it's up to you. What about 10 o'clock, or does 2 work better? It really works profoundly well. And here's that there's value in this, and we see this in jiu-jitsu. Some of you guys know do jiu-jitsu, and there's so many corollaries between martial arts, good martial arts, and good salesmanship. If you learn a martial arts system, it's like what Bruce Lee said. I fear the man who knows and has practiced one kick 10,000 times more than the man that has just done 10,000 kicks one time. In other words, if there's a kick that one knows really well, and especially if it works against all sizes of opponents, it's a valuable skill set. It's a valuable attack, right? Like in jiu-jitsu, if we know, like our kind of setup in our academy is a collar choke, arm bar, Americana, and triangle. Like basically those first 3, really. And you can do that on low-level and high-level guys. And if you practice that enough, it fits no matter what the size. There's some submissions, some movement patterns that don't only work on smaller or bigger guys, vice versa. But the core stuff is scalable. It works together. It adds this layer of complexity to your attack system. And I say all this because if it works simply like that, then it's extremely valuable. It's more valuable than some esoteric, weird technique that you would only get in some weird esoteric way. This is exactly the same way with a skill set or a script like the ASK methodology. You don't have to know 5, 10 different ways to rebuttal an objection because you've got one objection rebuttal script to rule them all. It really doesn't matter what they say. You just say that same script and it works every single time. That is powerful because it requires less brain power of yours while you're thinking on your feet to rehearse confidently that objection rebuttal mechanism. Does that make sense, y'all? So that's why I love this strategy. It works for everything. And it's not complex. It's simple. You just got to practice it and say it, and no matter what it is they say. And it works very well. Last bit of advice here until I take some questions in the chat. What is the biggest thing here? We've talked about ways to avoid the most common mistakes when agents set appointments. I think we've done a good job of explaining kind of the nuances of how we do an appointment setting attempt, what to avoid, what to make sure you're doing right. But how do you actually figure out where you're screwing up? You may agree with everything I'm saying here, let's assume, and that it's valuable and that you should do it. But how do you know that you're not doing it? Because what I've discovered is there are a lot of agents who think they're doing everything correctly, but they're really not. And how did they discover that they're not? Well, they fail out of the business, right? That's one way. But the smart agents recognize the power and the importance of doing what? Recording yourself as you do, in this case, the appointment setting calls. In other cases, door knock, telesales calls, or first-hand in-person presentations. The most underutilized strategy to actually monitor what you are doing live on the phone, setting appointments, is simply recording an audio of you, or even if you got a camera or something, recording yourself on the phone. That can be valuable too. If you're not doing this, you will never maximize your opportunity in this business. Look, all the professional sports teams do this. When they're going up against a team, they review tapes of them doing the plays. They review tapes of their competition doing the plays. They look for the opportunities to improve, because what that actual action on the field represents is the culmination of practice and repetitive attempts off the field to improve their core skill set. What does it look like live? Usually is different than what it looks like in practice, right? But it's valuable to see what it actually looks like live, because that's the outcome of what your practice culminated. So you can see, based off of the recordings, where you can improve and how you can get better. So all of this is to say, get over yourself. Don't be too cringe. Start recording yourself, okay? Listen to how you sound. You will be shocked, even if you don't send it to your upline to review, just how off it was based off of what your perception was. But therein lies the beauty, and this is what comes with humbling your ego and having some humility, is an opportunity for profound growth, exponential sometimes even. And the good news is that when you listen to your recordings, it's usually not that you're screwing up everything. You probably have 2, maybe 3 things that can be fixed that are major. And once you clean those up, you'll see immediate results, improvements in your ability to get into more homes and see more people. And that is today's training. Thank you so much. I'm going to go to the questions now in the chat, so let's start here. Hey, Naveed, I don't do any business with telemarketing and leads, so no need to pitch me on that. I'm not very big on those. What we usually stick with in the final expense side is direct mail, face-to-face, Facebook leads or a digital lead for telesales, or an inbound television lead for agents that want to sell over the phone and get inbound TV leads. We've got a really good supplier for that. Hey, Jess, what's going on? Thanks for being here. Thank you, Tony. Come on, David. Everyone knows that Sally Jess Raphael is better than Montel Williams, 100%. Tony, you're not wrong about prospects thinking about being scammed. I had a prospect a few years ago almost cancel our meeting because she got a call from the Visa fraud department earlier that day, and she thought I was the same type of scammer. We only talked through the phone, and it was still a cold call on my part, but it still freaked her out. Yeah, this is the constant state of mind our prospects are in, guys, okay? And that's what's tough about selling over the phone. It's not impossible, but it is more difficult because the phone removes the personal experience that even you and I are having on YouTube. You're able to develop kind of a connection with me, even though it's on a social media platform. But with telesales, you have no clue really who that person is, right? So that's why, appointment setting, we want to get in front of the prospect, not pitch them over the phone when we're a face-to-face oriented agent, because that face-to-face call is truly what builds what really the whole presentation hinges on, which is connection, a real one-on-one type of experience, and the ability to garner true trust, right? That's harder to, not impossible at all, but harder to come by over the phone. Thank you, Adrian. Can you please tackle lead generation? So for me, guys, if you're in the final expense space, and you can specify any others that you may have questions about, it all comes down to purchasing one of the 3 options that I mentioned: direct mail leads, Facebook leads, or a TV lead of some sort. I tend to encourage agents to focus more on buying those leads versus self-generation, because you're adding complexity, which should otherwise be worked on as to become as simple as possible. Meaning, if you're going to get involved in this business, one of its appeals is its simplicity. But you can make it more complex if you got to figure out Facebook marketing and managing that. It's not that it's a bad endeavor, it's just harder to deal with. So I tend to recommend agents, especially newer, to just buy one of the suggested lead sources that we recommend if you join the Ford Insurance Group, and don't worry so much about the self-gen side till you've established self some bit, okay? Thank you, Veronica. And then C Dragon will wrap it up after this in case anybody doesn't pop up. When setting up appointment and you are looking for the husband, what do you do if the wife answers? So a lot of times it's the wife that fills that out, okay? Just to let you know. They're like, sick and tired of berating their husband to go get life insurance, but, they always put stuff off, and the wife's like, screw this, I'm just fill this card out and make him talk to somebody. So if a lady answers and it's the male that's on the card, just assume it's the spouse. It's David Duford's name on there. You don't see if you see a spouse on there, use their name, of course. Sometimes that's included, but a lot of times it's not. If it's not, just say, hey, Mrs. Jones. If it's like, Jim Jones. He could use all the life insurance he needs. He could get. Hey, Mrs. Jones, this is David Duford calling. So Jim's on there, but a lady answers. I'm going to assume it's Mrs. Jones. Does that make sense? So again, assuming the opening is very important, so you can prevent the stalls that could happen. This is the main point. Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Don't forget, next week Friday we're doing our final expense carrier and underwriting extravaganza. DavidDuford.com/FECUM, as in mother, if you'd like more information on how that works. Learn all about final expense carrier underwriting from 20-plus carriers. It's going to be a great event and help a good cause, too. More on that at the website. And then we'll be in Nashville for our Elite Agent Summit, May 27th, I think. Last Friday of May, a couple Fridays from now, so 2 weeks or so. And $50 to get tickets there. It's going to be a fantastic event with top producers telling you all about how they become top producers and final expense, ACA, Medicare, and annuities. Ladies and gentlemen,